Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined as always by Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
Metcalf, doing good. It just feels wrong when I do a podcast without you running the show. We did a special episode yesterday with Dan Purcell, formerly of the New Orleans Pelicans. Me and Corey jumped on one, but I love doing pods with Corey, but it just didn't feel right. So I'm back. I feel good now, and I'm sorry. I don't like to break your heart or make you upset, but we're back in a big way. Are you excited that tomorrow's June 1st?
I'm very excited.
Here. It's here.
I'm very excited.
See how quickly I changed the subject? You're back now. Now I got
I know.
you
No, so I'm being the bigger man here. I'm forgiving and forgetting and moving on. Even though you're off sneaking around in the shadows, potting behind my back. It's fine. It's whatever. No, but in all seriousness, I'm ecstatic for tomorrow and what's going on at No Ceilings. I don't know, dude. Do we want to talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Go
for
it. Go for it.
For everyone that didn't see today on social media, we announced that we're launching a draft guide tomorrow. Whole team's put a lot of work into it. We've been working on this for a very long time. Couldn't be more proud. Like we got to see it probably like a couple hours ago, see the final product.
Incredible.
Looked awesome. We're super amped for everyone to see it. Our Corey does unbelievable job with the graphics. He knocked this one out of the park, and he's got some other special announcement tomorrow. We're probably going to also have some fun tricks up our sleeves, probably some apparel. We've been working our ass off. Like, you guys shouldn't be surprised. So I'm pumped. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sleep. I feel like a little kid on Christmas, but Christmas Eve, I guess that makes sense. But no, I'm excited to talk draft with you. I can't believe it's June 1st tomorrow. The draft month is here, baby. So let's get after it, Metcalf. How are we doing?
Oh God, I cannot wait. Listeners, I hope you guys know by now that we would not just be gassing this stuff up if we didn't think it actually turned out incredible. If it sucked, we just wouldn't put it out. But we're really proud of this. The entire team worked incredibly hard these last couple months, putting merch, draft guide, all of it together. So, just keep an eye out for it. And if you have the means to support us, it would mean the absolute world to us. But enough of that. We're doing more lists.
Yeah,
everyone's
more
favorite
lists.
Things. But besides draft guides and merch, lists are next on the list of everyone's favorite things. Last week we did guards, specifically point guards. Today we're doing wings. So we're kind of just lumping in shooting guards and small forwards. Anyone we talked about last episode on the top 10 point guards list will not be eligible for today's conversation. So that excludes Mr. Jaden Ivey, Dyson Daniels. Those would probably be the two big ones that would have potentially snuck into consideration here. But shooting guards, small forwards, we're just going to combine them into wings. And then the next one we'll do bigs with power forwards and centers and cap it off there. But Mr. Rucker, I'll let you go first. Who is your number one wing in the 2022 NBA draft class?
My number one wing. This is where we're gonna get crazy, folks. I can't believe I'm doing this to you. I'm taking Johnny Davis.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm being
smart. He's the best. He's the best wing on the board. I'm getting excited, Metcalf, because we had about a month and a half of just having some weird Johnny vibes of like, why isn't he not getting enough love? What's going on? I'm starting to think he might be a little bit of a climber, and I'm not getting any buzz. I'm not reporting that. Last year, I had a little bit of a chill, like for everyone listening that you've been here all year. I said this, like I had a little chill up my spine that Scotty Barnes was going to be a fan favorite in Toronto with that front office. And I have weird vibes that Johnny Davis might not be falling to all these projections with mock drafts. I keep going around to the full tools he has. I've watched the tape over and over again. I absolutely love how he plays. I think he's going to go to an NBA team with more spacing and talent around him and just blossom. I think it's going to be just the biggest, like, oh, this is awesome. What, like, I'm in a new world. Like, this is great. So, me and you have talked plenty about him. I know how you feel about him. I'm getting right there behind you. I'm the hype man right behind your back. Like, yes, push the Johnny love. But and I love how he defends. So, did I miss anything? Do you want to talk about him a little bit? I'm just a big fan. I think wherever he goes, he's going to be a steal.
Yeah, and we've made our love for him known
Mm-hmm.
all season, especially me. And it hasn't wavered a bit. The last couple of weeks of just the Johnny skepticism has been weird because literally nothing has changed. He still had an absurd scoring output on an unrealistic usage with horrible spacing, and he was one of the best, if not the best, defensive wing in this class. So we're at the point where people are overthinking things. We're at the point where people are looking at just pure numbers without considering context and situation and what those numbers actually mean. And not all numbers are created equal. So
Right.
Johnny's incredible. Apparently he's interviewed with teams as high as, I believe, the Pistons are the highest one that I've seen. So um, you know, I I would be surprised if he went there, but I'm kind of with you where all these mocks have him. It's almost like he's just automatically going to the Wizards at 10 in every single mock draft I've ever seen. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if he went earlier than that.
I got a question before we go to your pick about
hmm
Johnny that I just thought of that I haven't really brought up to you. Everyone's a little maybe obsessed is the wrong word, but like the shot, we've talked about the shot selection. We both think
hmm
that he just had to carry the load. Do you think because he's not going to have that usage rate at the next level, he's
No.
just not going to do it, especially as a rookie. Do you think because he's adapted to so many different roles over the last 2 years that Wisconsin asked him to be. Do you think like he will thrive with limited usage, like a much smaller sample? Do you think that's going to make him even better, or could you see the way he plays, like he struggles to kind of find that rhythm? Because some guys need touches, and like some guys just can't get in a groove without a lot of touches. That's why, like, I know this is a different world, but like when you try to play all of a sudden a guy off the bench, it's tough for guys to get in that same flow of the game quickly. So I'm saying, do you see a world where Johnny might struggle with the lower usage rate, or do you think that's going to even make it better because he's not going to have to do all the heavy lifting?
Yeah, and I think it'll make it easier for him because
Yeah.
we saw it in FIBA play where he had a bigger role than his freshman year, where he just came off the bench every game, but a much lesser role than 35 usage or whatever astronomical number it was his sophomore year. And I'm with you. I don't expect him to have that same usage. I don't want him to have that same usage. But if he's you just your normal shooting guard in a lineup, I love that. I think he's a really good cutter, incredible rebounder, and he knows he can affect the game in a lot of different ways that isn't just scoring. And
Right.
it's mainly the defense, but he's a good passer. He doesn't force dumb shots. I know listeners, you're going to pull up a million tough mid-range jumpers that he took, but he took those because he had to. So yeah, I'm not worried about that. Maybe his offense takes a pretty significant dip right away because he's adjusting to that and just NBA life. But there are so many different ways that he impacts a game that don't rely on him scoring that I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I think he makes so many damn good plays all over the court that I think wherever he goes, he's going to figure it out. And that just goes to tell you every level of play he's been at recently, he has adjusted and thrived. Like he has made the most out of those situations. As a freshman, they were like, we need you to play elite defense all the time. He did it. Next year, they said, we need you to carry the load offensively. He did it. I mean, so I think those guys, that really stands out to me when you're scouting and evaluating is he got these different situations and requests thrown at him, and he figured out a way to make it work. So, and I'm convinced no matter where he goes, he's gonna make it work. He's gonna work his butt off to stick and thrive. So That's all I'm at. Okay, we did 10 minutes basically of Johnny talk. We're good now. All
right. We met our weekly quota.
Yes.
Moving on. All right. So a couple different directions I could go here, but I'm going to go with a guy who I've stopped overthinking with. And he was a guy I had even higher earlier in the year, and then just kind of kept bumping him down a couple spots here and there. And I'm admitting that I'm overthinking it. There are some big holes in his game, but he is one of the best shooting prospects to ever come out of college. And I'm going to go with AJ Griffin.
Wow. Okay. I like this.
Just the shooting efficiency that he had this season. I mean, everything is at least like 87th percentile, with the majority of them being over 95th percentile. It's incredible catch and shoot. Good 1-2 dribble pull up. I think he's got a lot more shiftiness to his game. I think the injury concerns are kind of being overblown, and the vertical pop, I know it wasn't really there this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was him just trying to manage his recovery and, limit those hard landings and just kind of do what needed to be done and not go over the top of that. As he gets more flexible, I think the on ball develops a little more. I think it was a case of him only spotting up at Duke. Really, I think that was a case of him being told to, and not a case of him not being able to do more. So I know the defensive issues are glaring and concerning. I don't love them, but the shooting and the offensive upside, it's got to be AJ for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I feel like this happens when you watch film the entire year. I feel like you get to a point where you all of a sudden go, okay, I was cooling off on this guy. Let me go back around. Let me start this process again. And I'm at that point, the same thing with you. I've been overthinking AJ. I just started watching him again, like just slowing it down, watching as much as I can, and I'm coming aboard. Like I'm seeing the upside. I understand why everyone's getting excited about him. I think there's a lot of offensive game he's going to probably showcase that he didn't get to showcase a lot at Duke. I think a lot of people are thinking, okay, well, he's this athletically built 3-point shooter with a wide base. And it's like, no, AJ has some serious tools that I think he's going to showcase, especially when you're talking about like off the dribble. I think he's got some isolation upside that's going to be impressive. And I'm like you, I'm not too – the defense, I understand. It's not great. I think it could be something that could be turned around. Like, it'll be interesting. He's going to be fascinating, Metcalf. I could see someone falling in love with him and he goes early. I could see him falling to 11 and the Knicks are drooling at the mouth. Like he's one of those wild cards that I think it's like developing a wild card all of a sudden. Cause I was like, oh, he might go 6, 7. Now I'm like, there might be a guy that gets up there that spoils that. And then AJ tumbles. Like maybe Dyson Daniels is so hot that he goes up there and then AJ's falling back a little bit. So I'm right there with you. I like that pick.
Real quick on AJ.
Yeah.
Would it absolutely stun you if he went 4 to Sacramento?
No.
Would you hate it?
I would have a while ago. Now I'm like, AJ's a guy that I think if you're believing, you're all in. Like you're like, this is the upside. This is the guy. Because beginning of the year, this was a guy we thought was going top 5. Like in the pre-draft, or not pre-draft, preseason. I hate that I already said pre-draft. It's just a cancer in my head. Like the preseason, we were like, hey, AJ could get top 5 if he has a big year with Duke, playing with Paulo, Mark Williams, blah, blah, blah. Then he has that slow out of the gate experience, starts to come on. And it was all of a sudden he was like late lottery to trending towards the top 10. Now it seems like we're in that range where it's like, okay, is someone buying in or is he just going to be like that 9, 10, 11 range? Sacramento's as tradition. Sorry, Nick. I don't know if it's true. Sacramento's going to be the wild card. Like that's where things are going to get crazy. And I could see them going the smart route with like someone like Keegan Murray. I could see them trading out. but I could see them swinging for the upside of AJ Griffin because it'd be rich, but it just needs one team to believe. What about you?
No, I like the fit and just kind of going down the list. Detroit at 5, I like. Portland at 7, I like. New Orleans at 8, I like. San Antonio at 9, I like. Washington at 10. It's like every team in the top 10, basically. I'm like, okay, yeah, I really like that fit because at worst, I think you're getting an elite off-ball shooter.
Yeah,
awesome,
and
with legit on-ball upside, and every rotation craves these just knockdown sniper shooters. And if that's his worst case scenario, that he's going to be a top 10, top 5 shooter in the league, that's worth a top 7 pick.
It's funny because it's always one of those exercises where we're talking about it now and we're like, that might be way too rich. And then we might look back in 2 years and be like, man, that was ballsy, but it was great. That was a great pick. Like it always happens. But AJ is going to be one of those, like, wherever he goes, it's probably not going to shock me because I could see someone just believing in all in. Like they're going to be like, he has superstar upside. And if that is what you believe, whether it's Sacramento, whether it's Portland, whether it's Indiana, I mean, you're just going to be like, hey, that's the value. That's the swing. We're believing in the tools. So I wouldn't be shocked, but I hear you.
All right. Who you got at 3?
I'm going to piss some people off. I'm going to piss them off, folks, because I'm going to make Metcalf talk about the other guy. I'm going to take Benedict Mathurin.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I will. Everyone listening going like, what? What are you talking about? You left Jaden Sharp on the board. We will talk about this because I've been brewing some stuff I need to talk to you about, and we'll do it on the air. Fine. But I just love Mathurin. I think he's scrappy. I think he has legit two-way upside. I think there's defensive potential for him to be a pest. He just needs someone to unlock it on a consistent level. I've watched Mathurin this year. I've seen him in person. If he looks stocky on tape for everyone listening, he's even more muscular and stocky in person. Like he's a brick. Like he is a brick shithouse in person. I just think this kid's gonna have the potential to be a really nice wing at the next level. Like he can do a lot of different ways with scoring. He's feisty, likes to battle to create second chance opportunities. Like he goes and hits the glass. And we're going to talk about Sharp eventually. It's not me saying I don't believe in Sharp, but it's just one of those, like, I think I could see Mathurin's floor being safer, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Sharp, I still have a lot of questions, and we'll get there in a sec. But yeah, I'm going Mathurin for right now because if I'll sleep better. So there you go, Metcalf. What did you think?
So I have Mathurin at 14. Not for this exercise, but on my board.
I was like, what? I was like, 14 on the top wings? I was like, what did he do to you? Did he call out Johnny Davis?
That felt like an important clarification.
Yes, thank you.
But, the gap between there and 9 isn't super vast.
Is that where you have Sharp?
I have Sharp at 8.
Okay. No, that's fine. I got you.
And
I have Sharp higher, folks. So you're gonna be like, "What are you doing, Tyler?" And I'm just telling you right now how I'm feeling right now. Like I think I have Sharp like 8 or 7, and I have Mathurin at like 9 or 10. So I might have one higher. It doesn't mean I wouldn't pick another one if it was. I just love Mathurin. I really think this is a guy that I've said it for a while. He's gonna be a guy that potentially goes in the lottery that I think is underrated. No matter where he goes. If he goes 8th, I'm going to be like, I still think he's a little underrated. Like, I just think he can really play, and it's going to be fascinating where he goes. But sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think he's going to be a really good off-ball guard.
Yeah.
I was really underwhelmed with the kind of lack of on-ball stuff we saw from him. Maybe that was based on what he was asked to do, but he was asked to do a lot there. So
right.
it wasn't for necessarily lack of opportunity, even though they ran him off just a ton of screens and asked, he was allowed to take some really tough shots, which I think brought down his shooting percentage. I think he's a much better shooter than what the raw number shows. I trust that easily. Love the cutting, love the athleticism. I agree with you with his defense. That when he locks in, he's really good. I just hate the fact that I have to say when he locks in.
Yeah, he's going to need to get coached hard.
I would like that to be a little more consistent. My thing is what elevates him over a player like Tim Hardaway Jr. or Terrence Ross?
I just think it's weird with him because when you watch that Arizona team last year, I've had people ask me, he looks small to me. And I'm like, I understand, but you got to realize he's playing next to Dalen Terry, 6'7". He's playing again and next to Christie Coloco, Tubelis, 7-footers. He's playing with some big boys all around him. And when I saw him in person, I was like, he is rock solid. He's feisty. He goes at people. People just bounce off him. I just think there's a little bit more upside, Metcalf. The defense is what's going to swing it, in my opinion, right now. Because if he becomes a consistent pest defensively, that's a really dang good player that's going to play a long time and potentially be a starter, because then he could just get after both sides. I think the playmaking upside's really going to also pop. That's something that's going to be developing with time. I understand what you're saying about the on-ball stuff, because Arizona just ran, like you're saying, they ran him on so many screens. It was either on-ball pick and roll and him coming off and taking an elbow jumper, or him running across the court for off-ball screen. It's going to be interesting, but I just can't get over the idea of maybe he continues to develop into this more versatile weapon.
Sure. All right. Well, at number 4, excuse me. I'm going to go with the guy you mentioned, Shaden Sharp, who I think I kind of want to lump him in with AJ and Mather in here. And
this is a good, yeah, I'm sorry. This is a good trio. Because I wasn't expecting this. And these are the names I'm shuffling constantly right now. It's amazing how quickly it shifted, because I had Sharp up there and I'm like, okay, now I'm watching way more. I'm getting dangerously possessed now, where I'm like, okay, I'm watching way too much, but you're also starting to see stuff. Go ahead. Sorry.
So if I ask you to rank their, let's say 50th percentile outcome of who they are as a player, which would be a disappointment, but not necessarily, a complete failure, if that makes sense. Ooh. Who would you feel more confident in their 50th percentile being the most productive?
Oh, I don't know. I'm telling you, I would probably say AJ's top. I would probably say Matson might be 2.
That was my order as well. And that's
I'm not knocking Sharp, guys. Everyone listening, I'm not knocking Sharp. I think there's a long way to go. A long way. And he could be a superstar. We've talked about it. We had Jake Rosen on. We talked in detail. I still feel the exact same way. He could be an absolute machine. Just the more I've watched lately, the more I'm seeing some stuff. And I'm like, is this a situation where we're falling in love with the idea of what Shaden Sharp could be? And I get that, because his last level of competition was high school. But I'm just saying, there's always the athletic guy that looks like he could shoot the ball from deep and jumps out of the gym. But can the rest of that game develop? And that's going to be the question with Shaden Sharp. And that's why I think there's been reports from some of the mainstream guys saying hey, teams are a little nervous about Sharp. Just they're talking about they have all these questions. They don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if he just slipped, because a lot of GMs are going to be I know more about Mathurin. I have a bigger sample size. Sharp is a wild card.
Yeah, so the reason I asked that question wasn't to denigrate Sharp or anything. We've said it a million times, we're rooting for all these guys, yada, yada, yada. He's still a top 10 pick, easy for us. We think he's uber talented. I think he's a lot riskier than a lot of people are willing to admit. And the fact that we haven't seen him do anything at full speed in a year, about a year, really concerns me. And I think what Jake Rosen said on that podcast, I can't really get out of my head, and it's that everything he does feels predetermined.
Yeah.
Where it's none of it is impulsive, none of it is improvised. It's all okay. I'm going to cross over, I'm going to drive, I'm going to snatch back, I'm going to spin to my right, and then I'm going to take a jumper, whether the defender's there or not. It's all perimeter based creation that's already predetermined. And the fact that that's what we basically saw him do in all these workouts at half speed, I just worry about how quickly that's going to catch up and be game ready, if that makes sense. I buy the shot long term. I like him more as an off ball scorer than an on ball scorer. I really like the cutting. I really like the off ball movement, the off ball shooting. But everything he's doing and everything he's showing is a guy who wants to handle the ball. And I think he's a good ball hand, or I think he has a good foundation to be a good on ball creator. But the fact that we haven't seen any of it in a live setting for such a long time just makes me pause. Then that on top of the defense being absolutely atrocious doesn't help either.
Like, this is the time of the year where it's my favorite because you start watching just like full games again, because you're just looking for, like, you have your foundation of scouting and evaluating. You have a feel for everyone. But now you start to get to the real nitpick stuff where it's like, okay, I have a question. Let me go figure it out now. Like, and this is just what I like to do, because it's like, I had AJ Griffin. I was like, I don't feel awesome about AJ Griffin. Let me go back. And that's why I always say, like, keep watching film. Just get to that point where you're like, okay, I got it. And I did AJ Griffin, and I feel better now. Like, I feel like, okay, I was overreacting. I see a lot more than I was initially expecting. This is also where you just start making new notes. And I was watching Shade and Chart the other day because I was like, I think we're getting drunk on the idea. And when I started,
which is a lot of what the draft is, because you're projecting for the future. You're hoping, you're all of that. But some reality has to come into play too.
And the problem is when you fall in love too much with a guy that is an unknown towards the top 7, you really got to be sure, or else that swing could do some damage. And I think that's why that report came out where it's like, there's questions about Shaden Sharp. Teams are a little nervous. And it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Cause like Metcalf's saying, we haven't seen this guy play full speed in almost over a year. Like, I haven't picked up a basketball in a couple of months, and I go out there, I'm going to be horrendous. I can't imagine not playing for a year and change. And I know he's been practicing with Kentucky, all that stuff, but there's just stuff I'm seeing that's more red flags than I was initially now. And I'm not trying to downplay the kid. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying there's stuff I'm seeing where I'm like, I could see him going 8th or something instead of 4th. And you just keep watching. And I think the predetermined thing is right spot on, Metcalf. And you keep watching his high school film. I think there's a lot of it. And it's not just the shots.
There are a lot of times where he has a driving lane and is already spinning back. It's like, what do you, like, it's there for you. Just take it. And then I think that's where the athleticism, he's a freak athlete. He's a freak vertical athlete. I think the athleticism gets overblown too. I keep seeing these Jalen Green, Anthony Edwards comps, and, based on pure vertical jump, sure, he doesn't have that first step, and like the lateral stuff, he doesn't have that. So I think his athleticism is open court athleticism. I don't think it's as functional in the half court, at least not right now. Maybe that changes. Maybe he improves how much space he generates on his step back and how quick his first step is. But I think a lot of that is getting a bit exaggerated.
It's like we're getting a little weird now with the matchups, but it's like Kendall Brown's athleticism, where it's like,
yes,
you want him to be more like pop more laterally, But Kendall's like, if you get him in transition, it's like, oh my gosh, hold on to your seat. But when you watch Sharp, I'm like, everything seems predetermined. Everything seems like a little slow when it's having to go certain ways. But there's upside. Like the shot's beautiful. Yes. He jumps out of the gym. There's some really impressive stuff. I just think there's a lot longer of a road ahead than some might think. And that's why I could see him being a little bit later. So.
All right, number 5, who you got?
Gosh, I really just went all out on that. So, and I'm not, we say it all the time. I'm not rooting against anyone. I'm just saying we're educating like, hey, if Sharp fell, this might be why, because teams are a little nervous about that.
Yeah, and we both still have him firmly in our, and he's 7, 8 for me, and I don't see him moving.
Exactly.
Especially out of the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, excuse me. I have him 7. So it's like, I'm not rooting against him at all. I just, I can still see him going like 4th somehow. Like, my next wing is going to be Malachi Branham.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We had Dan on the last podcast, and he said he's not convinced on him, and I was like, Dan, hold on. He said, no Keegan, no Dan. And I was like, or no Keegan, no Branham. And I was like, Dan, you were really dancing. I was like, I feel like the shark in Jaws right now if you keep going down this path.
Where's that end broadcast button? Okay.
But it was good. Like Dan brought up great points.
He did.
Yeah. And I love when anyone goes against the consensus because I'm like, yes, like speak your mind. Like say it from your chest. But he was wrong. I'm kidding. I love Branham. I really do understand the hesitations, the doubts. Like people talk about his finishing ability, stuff like that. But I still think he just has too. I love the guys that use the lack of elite speed to create with feel, change of gears, hesitations. I think that's a really special skill. And I also think Branham has that tough shot making ability that I think that is a skill. Like if you can get buckets on a consistent basis with someone smothering you all over you. Like I just love him. I think he's going to be a name that could go earlier than we expected. I think he's probably him and Dyson Daniels are probably the 2 buzzing names right now. They're the hottest names. So that's my pick, Metcalf.
I love Branham. I have him at 9 and when Dan talked about how he's not sold on him, I get it because when Branham really exploded in it was like January and February where he had those where he was dropping 20 to 25 a game.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not legit. These are all really tough contested mid-range jumpers. He's not really creating any space at the rim. All this stuff is straight line. And then you go back and watch it and it's not fluky at all. It's someone who knows exactly how much space he needs and how to really use his body and his length to create those inches of window. And then a lot of his interior stuff is just how composed he is on the ball. He rarely ever picks up his dribble when he shouldn't. He does that Steve Nash snake along the baseline dribble all the time. Whether it's to snake back around for a layup or to, just draw both defenders and dump it off to his big man for an easy layup. He does that all the time. He's an elite off-ball shooter. Yes, he doesn't create a ton of space in the mid-range. I don't think he's going to be asked to do a lot of that early in his career. But as he grows, I'm sure the space generation will improve, at least somewhat, just to make his life a little easier. But it's a real testament to how consistent and concise his mechanics are on every single jumper, that he's rising up, creating, using his length exactly as creating as much space as he needs to, and knocking down these heavily contested jumpers over and over and over and over again. It's like, okay, the form is the exact same every single time. And then I think he's a really good passer. I wrote about his passing earlier this year. I think he's an incredible passer. The defense is the defense, I guess. Well, I guess we'll put it at that.
Yeah. He has the length and upside. He's got the wingspan. Someone's going to be convinced they could unlock it. But, I think some people might watch Branham and think he over dribbles and stuff. But I don't think it's that at all. I think he's just strategic with creating angles and being patient and understanding like, okay, if I just keep working at this, keep grinding, I'm going to get this wide open angle. So I love him. Every time I watch him, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Well, Metcalf, what was it? Because me and you did a pod when he was, I think we were finally getting into the point at the end of the year. We're like, okay, it's time to grind on some film. And we did a pod together where we kind of revealed that we both just skyrocketed him up our boards.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like something in his game that just made you just swing? Like you were like, oh, okay, this guy's like not going in the 20s. This guy should be way higher on my board. Was there just one thing that really popped at you where you were just like, oh, okay, I'm really in love now? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, was there a swing ability that just caught your attention?
Yeah, it's mainly the pick and roll stuff.
Yeah.
And EJ Liddell is arguably the best pick and roll partner to have in college basketball this last year. He was incredible. It's just setting screens. But Branham also did a brilliant job of setting his defender up and dribbling really tightly off the screen and then using his body to put the defender in jail. Because his specific defender, you can't go under him or else he'll just knock down a three. And then once he gets you on his back in the mid range, you're toast because he's an incredible passer, not flashy or whatever, but consistent, makes a right read, keeps his dribble alive and just really plays a smart cat and mouse game. So that ability to run the pick and roll and create on ball as like a second side creator with the just absurd off-ball shooting numbers is like, okay, this guy can fit in NBA offense. And then it's just kind of disregarding the defense. He has the length to at least do something. So I think his best bet is as an off-ball defender, oddly enough, because he just dies on too many screens in the pick and roll. He's really got to improve that. But I don't think the defense is going to be detrimental and outweigh how absurdly versatile and effective his offense could be. What was it for you?
It was the tough shot making and then his feel. I think his excuse me. I think his feel is one of the most impressive I've watched on film in this class because you can be a good basketball player when it comes to being like successful and pick and rolls and stuff. But Branham is so good at, like you're saying, the angles make like that stuff is so crucial to hiding some of like your weaknesses. Like people might be like, he's not the quickest, but it's like, yeah, but he uses those angles to give him the best position to succeed. It's like why Luka's so awesome is because Luka's footwork, his timing, his ability to react to what you're trying to do, stuff like that is awesome. Branham is just so good at, like you're saying, I love how you put it, like the cat and mouse game. Like he's really good at like, no, like come here and wait for this to be the proper screen. And then we're going to go because I'm going to put you in a tough spot where it's like running elbow to elbow. And those fundamentals that I think a lot of people don't realize, like guys get sloppy with those. And when you tighten those up and get really specific, you can do some dangerous stuff with your game. And I think that's what impressed me with him is he is a technician with that stuff because he understands of like one extra dribble, I have a better angle, stressing patience. I got a better shot. If I get this guy to bite this way with his momentum going this way, now I have my little step back from the elbow. Like he's just got a great feel. And I just love how he plays composed. So that really, when I start seeing that, I was like, my goodness. And then you just see the pick and roll ability, the catch and shoot upside. You're just like, okay, there's some real tools.
Yes, and offensively, he almost reminds me of like a younger Jalen Williams. The way he just dictates pace, plays at his own speed, and just puts defenders in jail in the middle of the floor.
Wow. Is that like the first time ever we've just compared a draft prospect to a older draft prospect?
It's the first time I've done that.
That's unbelievable. A No Ceilings exclusive, folks. You've never heard that anywhere else. That might be brilliant. Selling T-shirts now.
All right, moving on to 6.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Oh gosh, I'm up. See, I got so excited about Branham that I just kind of ignored.
Oh wait, no, you just picked Branham, didn't you?
Yeah. See,
okay,
there you go.
That's my.
Now
bad.
we're getting
All
juicy.
All right, I'm gonna go Usman Jang.
I love it. Good. Tell me why.
We talked about him the other week. Just that second half of the year was so impressive. The first half of the year was atrocious. I hated every second of it. But there's very little of the second half that I didn't love. So I'm still worried. I think he could be in line for a disastrous rookie year. But given the mental fortitude he showed this year and overcoming that slow start and finding his rhythm and toughening up and growing confidence on both ends of the ball, I really like him I really like him long term. I think he's got some pretty scary tools.
Is there a world where you might prefer Zhang to Shaden Sharp? I'm talking like here we go. We're getting mad scientist mode, folks. Shaden Sharp reaches his dream ceiling.
Yeah.
And Zhang reaches his dream ceiling. What player do you think has more, like, you wouldn't want to face? Like, if you're an opposing team, do you want to face possessed Shaden Sharp or do you want to face possessed Zhang? Because I think Zhang, if he reached every, and we're having fun here. We're getting crazy. Yeah. Zhang's got some scary all around ability. Now, Sharp at his godlike peak might drop 55 on you and miss 2 shots. But Zhang also could drop 24 and 15 assists and 8 rebounds. I don't know. I'm having fun here. I'm too excited for the draft. It's almost like 22 days. We got less than 30 days. This is incredible.
So from a one-on-one perspective, I would be terrified of Shaden Sharp because
I'd be horrified.
It'd be Kobe on Jalen Rose, just dropping 80.
81 olives.
Yeah. I don't want that anywhere near me. But from a team perspective and having to deal with Zhang's off-ball shooting potential, we're assuming he hits his 100th percentile. So on-ball creation is jumped. He's an awesome playmaker. And then the defensive improvements that he showed this year are through the roof. And he's an all NBA defensive candidate. So from a team perspective, no, thank you. Based on the likelihood of them hitting their kind of 90th percentile outcomes, I think Sharp's is higher than Zhang's. Sure. But man, that second half of so I was talking with Nick on NBA Deep Dives podcast about this earlier, and I thought Maxwell put it awesome earlier this year, where it was when he wrote about Zhang in January or something like that, and he was like, guys, there's a difference between skinny and soft. And he was worried that Zhang was soft. And I think in that first half of the year, when that was his dominant tape, there was an argument for that. What he showed in the second half of the year, that dude's not soft. He is tough, mentally tough. He still needs to improve how physical he plays. But once he started gaining confidence in his defensive footwork and positioning, that improved. It got better. He stopped just ushering guys to the rim and started getting in the way of their drives and taking that contact to the chest. So I think that guy's a lot tougher mentally and willing to work through some shit than he's given credit for. And God, I love betting on those guys.
It's one of the most remarkable, complete, just flip-flops of a season I've seen. Because I have a connection overseas, is really, really talented international scout. He's great mind, great friend that I've made over the years. And I asked him at the beginning of the year, I was like, how are you feeling about Zhang? And he just is like, the kid looks lost. He is in another world. He doesn't know what's going on. And then I agreed, because I was just fascinated with them, because I was like, I want to see. There was so much buzz about him when you talk to international scouts, just like the basketball scouting world when it was coming into the year, because they're like, Zhang has serious potential. and he'd been buzzing since he was in France. But then you watch that first half of the season, like Metcalf's talking about, and it was just brutal. He did look lost. He looked like a kid that had no confidence, a little soft, and then just like a snap. All of a sudden, it was like Thanos snapping the universe, and you're just like, whoa, this is a basketball player. Like, this is fun. And then you really started seeing some signs. And that's what I'm saying. Like, boy, someone is going to buy. Like, if he goes top 10, it won't shock me because teams looking at the analytics are going to stay away from him. But someone's going to look at him as a basketball talent and say, throw those numbers out the door. We have a potential star here, like a diamond in the rough. So someone's going to fall in love. And I know a lot of people have mocked him to the Spurs, and everyone's like, oh, it's the international joke. It's like, no, the Spurs might do it because there might be like, we're not passing this up. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I love him. I'm right there with you. Completely shifted my mindset of him.
I had him in the 50s at one point.
I said there's no way he can go this year. I said he's got to go back another year. And I was like, it's not even close. And then that's why we always say, like, do your check-ins. And you did a check-in later in the year on Jang, and you were like, oh my gosh, I need to – what happened? Like, did he get a new girlfriend? What's going on? Like, it was just like the confidence, just complete different player. So I'm rooting for him. He's exciting. He's going to be another wild card.
Absolutely. Number 7, who you got?
God, I love this episode. I'm getting way too excited. This has just been great. The point guard class, the point guard episode was such a nightmare. I felt like Freddy Krueger was haunting me. Now I'm like, this is heaven is a place on earth. Screw it. Let's keep the good times going. I'm taking Jaden Hardy. I love it.
My
yeah,
goodness.
Talk about a guy that I'm believing in. I love Hardy. I'm not going to give up on him. I don't care if he doesn't click, but I think the off-ball scoring, it's the exact year I thought he was going to have with the G League. And I know everyone's like bull crap, and I'm like, no, this is what I thought he was going to have. I thought he was going to go play against pros. They're going to try to develop him. He was going to have a little bit of a rude awakening, and everyone was like, oh, he was supposed to be outside candidate for the first overall pick. And it's like, okay, so yeah, he goes down there and doesn't average 28 a game and shoot 48% from 3. And we're all like, what's he doing? So I get it. I watched when the turnovers were happening. I understand he had some growing pains, but we've seen this. Jonathan Caminga. I think a lot of people might be quick to say they were a little wrong on Caminga because we were all freaking out about how he looked in those other G League bubble games after he had that outstanding first one. And it's like, they know what they're doing down there, guys. They know how to develop these guys. Now, it's going to be on Hardy. It's going to be on what he's got between the head. If he's willing to work, if he's willing to accept a role, if he wants to be like, hey, I'm the guy, he can fall. But if he's willing to accept his role and trust the team to bring out the best basketball in him, I still believe in the upside. I still think he's got great talent.
I really struggle with Hardy. I understand the context. I understand what they did with him, and I'm incredibly impressed with the improvements that he showed this year. I think landing spot is going to be so important for him. And, yes, I know it's important for every prospect, blah, 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 but it matters more for some than others. And I think Hardy falls into that camp. If he goes to a team that expects him to be a high on-ball usage guy, I think the results could be really rough. I love him as an off-ball shooter, though, and the way that he kind of varies his routes off screens and started kind of basically just running off of pin downs and using that to create like a pseudo pick and roll to get downhill and in the paint and then create a lob or a pocket pass or something. I really like that stuff. And the defense it's not good, and I don't think it's ever going to be good. I don't know. I'm a little hesitant on what I don't love the athleticism, and I think that's really going to hinder him long term as an on-ball guy.
It could be a blessing. I think the later the draft goes and the more he falls, I'm going to say this is perfect for Jaden Hardy because he's going to if he had that year that everyone was expecting, and maybe they didn't play him as a primary point guard, they just let him play off the ball the whole year, and he shot 44% from three and just did what he did best. And everyone was like, oh man, this is a lethal shooter. And maybe he went 7th. Like, I think that would have really rung the dinner bell about some red flags. But I think now if he falls later, and we've talked about like Denver, if he somehow ended up there with Denver where they have Bones and him coming off the bench and becoming offensive weapons, it's going to get interesting. Like even Memphis or teams like that could use his off the ball scoring. Like I think it could be a blessing.
Yeah, so I know every mock, including ours, we always send a power forward to Chicago at 18.
Yeah.
What if that was Jaden Hardy?
I think something like that's going to happen, Metcalf. I think we're all just getting fascinated with these fits. Like we've always had EJ Liddell there, and like today we joked and we're like, Dalen Terry now staying in, and I'm getting off track, but like that throws a wrinkle. That could be a name in there too. But I still think Hardy's going to get someone to buy in on him. Now I don't know if it's going to be, but I'm just saying like someone. I think late lottery, or you get to that 15 to 18, and right in front of your T-Wolves. Like I could see Charlotte being just a whoa, okay, and I could see Atlanta being like intrigued with that offensive upside. I don't know if I could see Houston, but I'm just saying like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I really do believe he's still got some serious games, some talent waiting to be unlocked. And I think someone's going to be buying and you never know, but he's the name that I just can't get over. I've watched as much as possible. We had a meeting before this podcast, everyone, with our team. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing a Jaden Hardy piece because that's just, I'm in. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'm going to be able to sleep fine if I'm wrong. But I just see too many games and I see some flashes and just how effortless he looks when he's confident, how good and effortless it looks for him. I think someone's going to take him and say, we're putting you off the ball, do exactly what you love to do, and we'll figure out everything else. So I'm going to stop talking. See, this is what happens when Hardy gets brought up. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry.
Never apologize.
Where are you at? Are we 9 or 10 or what?
We are at 8. So I'm going to go with the guy who I've adored since his freshman year and whose game has completely changed since his freshman year. I think it is one of the best developmental stories in recent college basketball history. I'm going Ochai Agbaji.
I really like this pick.
Yeah, because he rocks. And the fact I don't understand, similar to what we were talking about earlier with Davis and people cooling on Davis and turning away from that, the same thing has happened with Ochai. And I do not understand it. Is he going to be this dynamic on-ball creator? No. That's okay. But in the late lottery, middle of the first round, if you're getting a seasoned, experienced wing who's an incredible athlete, great motor, really smart player, good off-ball shooter, great cutter, good lob finisher, and awesome team defender, what else do you want? Because all of these guys that you're hoping to develop, everyone that gets mocked ahead of him and everyone that I see talked about ahead of him, the hope is that they develop into what Ochai already is. He is that day one. You're hoping this 18-year-old can be that. And I see all these arguments about, how old will he be on this third contract? If he gets to a third contract, that's an incredible success story. Not many guys get to a third contract. So it's just another example of how I feel like the age, just the age argument gets way overblown and just inappropriately used.
Going to be a highway robbery wherever he goes.
Yeah.
my stupid big board document had him ranked as a forward, not a wing or guard. So that's why I didn't just bring him up earlier. So, but I'm going to stay. I get one mistake every, everybody gets one. And I feel like I'm averaging one per. But I love Ochai. I think this is going to be a classic. We look back in 3 years and just be like, damn, why did we overthink Abaji just because he was older? And because I think he's going to shoot the cover off the ball and he's going to play his ass off every single game. And he's going to be tough and he's going to be coachable and he's going to do anything they want. It sounds like he's an incredible kid that is just going to probably blossom in interviews. He's going to be the guy that slips through the cracks. Doesn't get enough attention, gets drafted. It's perfect. I can already see it happening. So, yeah, I love Agbaji.
All right, number 9, who you got?
Where am I going with number 9? You know what? Can you confirm with me? Did we take my prodigal son in the last episode, the point guard episode? No, we did not.
We did not.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I should have taken him a lot earlier. I love him. I'm going to take Jalen Williams of Santa Clara. I just love him. Yeah. I just love him, Metcalf. I'm going to order a nice little frame Jalen Williams Santa Clara jersey on my wall. I'm kidding, guys. But just a guy, I think, very much like Branham, really knows how to play under control, play with change of gears, play with pace. He's got great length. He's got good size. He's got versatility. He could take over a game shooting. He can take over a game with his playmaking. Just a gamer. And I think the Santa Clara tag has been like, where is this guy coming from? But will not shock me if he goes early. One of the hottest names, and I think someone's going to be really sold on the complete offensive versatility moving forward. So I love Jalen Williams. I feel bad for, your team in this exercise because I just feel like I just hit this out of the park. Like, I don't really know if I missed anywhere. Just a great draft. Great haul by me, Chess, when you're playing checkers, I'm playing chess. So there you go. No, I'm having fun. I'm excited, guys. Come on. Tomorrow's June 1st. You know how long we've been waiting for this? It's draft month, baby.
Okay, so what do you say to the argument that all of this Jalen Williams love is recency bias, and it's just because he had a couple good scrimmages?
I think it's bull crap. I wrote an article.
Eloquent as always.
No, I think I wrote an article earlier in the year. I just saw this kid, and I was like, I wonder if teams are going to get intrigued with this guy. And usually when you see a prospect and you start, getting fascinated with them, I just quickly saw like, okay, like what's the schedule like coming up? Like, has he got any tough matchups? And he had like St. Mary's, Gonzaga on it. I was like, there you go. Here, let's find out what this kid's made of. Cause it always sucks when a guy's dominating at that competition level. And then he goes and plays the tougher teams and just puts an egg up and you're like, ah. But like Gonzaga, they played him at Santa Clara. They were getting blown out, and he was just battling. He just kept giving them the business. He was like, I'm not giving up, and I thought he impressed. Everyone's seen the clips where he's put Chet Holmgren on skates this year. And then St. Mary's, he was brilliant. They had an upset victory. He was just – I watched that whole game, and I was like, man, this kid can play. And it wasn't like he had 35. He had like – I want to say probably like –
18 points, 10 assists, 1 block, 4 steals, 2 rebounds, 70% from the floor.
And it felt dominant. Like, I know those stats sound impressive. It felt even more. I wasn't even like looking at the numbers. I was just like, this kid is just taking over. And because I think that's star potential. When you can impact the game in more than, 4 or 5 ways, whether it's scoring, assists, rebounding, defense. And I really do think like Jalen has that kind of swagger and ability with his game. And I just really, really like him. So yeah, I won't shock me. Some team drops him really early. Will not shock me.
Yep. I'm very excited for draft Twitter to freak out when it happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
At number 10,
nowhere. What are you talking about?
At number 10, I'm gonna be weird. I'm gonna be a little against the grain, but it's a guy that I've hyped all year, a guy that I've refused to move out of my top 20. He is officially staying in. Max Christie.
Yes, I thought you were going another route. Okay, love this.
No. We'll mention Procida in honorable mentions, but no, I refuse to move off Max Christie. I think he's a really good on-ball defender, as I think he has the frame to add a lot of muscle. And once he does, that length, that footwork, that positioning, I think is going to be a nasty defender. And that's not even what he's pegged at. He's pegged as this off-ball shooter. I know the percentages weren't there, but I like the movement. I like the relocation ability. I like the shooting mechanics. Sure, there are a few tweaks here and there, but the foundation of what he is, it's more than what the percentages and the raw numbers say. And I'm betting on that talent in the top 20 every day of the week.
I'm getting back in on him, Metcalf.
Love it.
I am telling you, I thought, so this is what happens every draft cycle is there's a couple guys I will be like, okay, I got a feel for them, but I'm convinced they're going to go back. And then Christie came out and was like, I'm staying in. And I was like, bet, here we go. Let's go to work. Like, I was like, fire up the tape. And I started watching him defensively, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like, there is unreal upside defensively. Like, he has beautiful footwork. His feet are like, it looks like he's just like bouncing around like a boxer. Oh, it's unbelievable how quick he could shift his hips on drives. He smothers you. I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. I'm like you. I was like, everyone's talking about his shooting upside, like when it comes to like his mid-range game, his shot. I was like, this is making me fall in love with Christie. Like, this is a legit tool, like a legit weapon of his. So, that's where I was like, hey, I really liked his upside offensively, but seeing this, if those two worlds combine, like, oh my goodness. So another guy, I will not be shocked if someone has a big circle around Max Christie of, hey, we don't care if he's on the board at, Minnesota at 19. If they're like, we don't care. This is exactly what we want. He'll play great defense. We'll figure out the shot. We don't care. Someone's going to be buying into the upside, because I know his shot struggled, but Tom Izzo giving him free reign all year to play extended minutes regardless of that shot. That tells you what Tom Izzo thinks of a freshman like that struggling to get his shot going, because you see the defense and the upside. So I love that.
And I think that's a good point too, because I obviously we weren't in the gym or anything, but I think that speaks to how hard he was working in practice, because Izzo just doesn't give guys minutes.
No,
he doesn't care. He's Tom Izzo. He runs that program. He runs a athletic department. So I don't think those minutes were given. I think they were earned in some form or fashion, and a lot of that I think came through the defense and just his willingness to be coached. And yes, there were freshman mistakes. There were young kid mistakes where he looked out of place and he looked lost and behind the play. That happens with every freshman all the time. I'm not worried about it. I think this kid's going to be really good. And I think the fact that he quickly came out and said, I'm 100% staying in, tells you that he's going first round.
I think he is.
So I would stop buying into the mock drafts that have him in the late 40s, because I think he's going to be a first round guy.
It's my favorite part of the year, because you start playing detective and you start going like, okay, there's you start piecing together the clues, the evidence. It's like, okay, he says he's staying in, and you're like, all right, well, where could it be? Because here's the thing. If a guy's staying in and they announce that early that they're staying in, they ain't staying in for a second round promise that early, like without going and working out or without going to participate in combines and stuff like that. There's usually something going on behind the scenes. Now, we've seen it before. Like, a team will promise go a different direction. It happens all the time. It doesn't mean you're automatically going to happen, but I'd be shocked if he's not a first rounder. Be shocked.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocked.
Same. So, if it would have gone right up to the deadline and it would have been Max Christie has decided to stay in, then I've been like, okay, he's just like, just let me get to the pros and I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The fact that it was 4, 5, 6 days before the deadline, I don't know. I'm not saying, but
yeah, I mean, it was it even like the start of the combine?
I think it was like right after, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blanking off the top of my head, but I do know when it happened, I was like, "Whoa, okay, you feel pretty good. You got some good feedback. You feel pretty good about that if you're making that blunt of like I'm in," because then you start going to work out for teams, and he must have felt good before then. So, gonna be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Well, let's run through just a few honorable mentions. I'll just kind of go down my board in order here. Gabriel Procida, PBJ maybe, but he probably falls into, I don't know. Yeah, probably PBJ would fall into this class. Christian Brown, Bryce McGowan's, I think, is a really like one of the better upside bets late in the first round, because if he hits, he could be nasty. I think he's going to be fascinating. Ryan Rollins, Trevor Keels. Yeah, those are a couple of them.
Although I didn't say him, yeah, Christian Brown, if I needed to go to war with a player, this list would have looked a lot different. And Christian Brown would have been at the top. Tomorrow, everyone listening for this on Wednesday, we'll find out a lot of answers tomorrow. Trevor Keels is the big name. We're going to find out if he's going to stay in or he's going to go back to Duke for another year. I think he's another wild card. I think if he stays in, someone could be buying into the upside, but that's definitely another honorable mention. Beauchamp, probably another name that maybe we could have thrown in here. Do we
Can we
think
talk
he's
about him quick?
Yeah, of course.
What do you think's going on?
Struggling. You're struggling.
I don't know what to do with him.
It's.
Is he going first round?
I don't know. When people were getting the lotto buzz in the beginning of the year, I was like, this is because it's a hot name. And we're waiting. Like, this is what we get a late rush of names at the end of the year. It always happens. That's what I'm saying. Like, big boards in the beginning of the year, it's unbelievable how much they change.
Yeah.
You might have the same assortment of names or 90% of those names, but there's going to be change. And I think he's just the guy that he's got to have specific, like, it's what you said earlier, Metcalf. Like, yes, the draft is fit dependent every year. But this year, there's going to be some prospects that really need the right fit to get up there. Like, Beauchamp is going to have a run in the first round. He's just got to get one of those teams. But, like, Denver, if they're like, hey, we could use him off the bench, he could be a great asset. Brooklyn, if they keep their pick or Philly gets it, I mean, just make up your mind. And then I'm looking at some other teams like he's going to need that playoff team to be like, we need a spark off the bench, because I don't think anyone in the lottery is going to be like, we have to have Beauchamp here.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against his game. I just think he's a utility weapon that you need to unleash in your rotation. And I think everyone falls in love with upside. So guys like, Bryce McGowan's we're talking about might get a little bit more love than him because people are saying the ceiling with McGowan's is so much higher, when realistically, Beauchamp just might be a dang good piece to have if he's like your eighth guy. And I'm not insulting his game. I'm just saying I think that's what front offices are going to look at and why he might slip. Because I'm right there with you. I love him. Every time I watch him, I like him. Because I believe in that type of player. I believe in the hustle guys that do the dirty work. And I still think like he's got some upside with his game. But one of those ones I could see slip into like the early second round or, it's the late 20s, and Toronto's picking at one of the first 30 spots, and Toronto loves him as just a rotation asset. And Toronto's like, let's go get him. Like that's where I think he's at.
All right, fair enough. And I recognize that I'm lower on him than most. I think just a couple other names to note, like deep second round sleepers. I think Marcus Sasser is a name people should keep an eye on. Where'd they go? Julian Champagny is another one who's he could be a lethal scorer. And then I love Tevin Brown. I think he's just one of the best off-ball shooters in this class. So, what about you? Any deep sleepers or no? Or have we kind of covered them all?
I still can't fully fight the Keon Ellis experience.
Yeah, he's like right there with Tevin Brown. He's like a spot behind for me.
Yeah. Still waiting to see what Tyler Burton decides to do.
I love Tyler Burton.
You know, me and you are going to sit on the draft night and we're going to watch the whole thing together on the stream. And I cannot wait to see Caleb Houston where he ends up.
That was a good name.
I am just like, I don't care. Like every time I go through my big board and I get to Caleb Houston, I'm like, where the heck are you going to go?
Yeah.
He could go 25. He could go 49. And I would not blink.
No.
Like I'd be like, I get it. But I think he has to have.
Oh, he has to, because he shut everything down. Everything. Workout videos, combine. Like we don't see shooting videos of him in an empty gym.
One of the bigger surprises of this whole cycle, because that was a guy, I would say him, JD Davison not playing in the scrimmage. Don't know. Still don't know. Yeah. I wake up at 2 a.m. every night screaming at the top of my lungs, and I can't figure out why JD Davison didn't play. But yeah, Caleb Houston just shutting down. I was like, could you be a little bit more obvious about getting a promise? Like, but he didn't shut down for a promise at 30. Like, I see some mock drafts of like OKC might have promised him at 30. I'm like, he didn't shut down for that. I mean, I think he shut down for maybe like a.
So, like, we talking 20, Spurs at 20?
Like something like that. You have to. Maybe 24 to Milwaukee or 25 to the Spurs. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. I don't know.
That is.
All right.
Rucker, thank you so much for joining me. This was fun, as always. Building lists. So much fun. Please plug away. Tell people where they can find you.
Folks, tomorrow, all you got to do, or while you're listening to this, you're driving in the car, you're having a good morning, you know, or you're having a good afternoon, you just got off work. All you got to do, go look at No Ceilings NBA on Twitter or go to NoCeilingsNBA.com. Got a draft guide up, folks. Just go check it out. Go have some fun. That's all you got to do. You don't need to follow me. Just go check out the draft guide tomorrow, and we're going to have some other stuff that you might be very interested in. Hint, it's clothes. So yeah, go check it out. We're really pumped. We had a lot of designers and people we reached out to behind the scenes that worked with us. Our team did a great job. I'm pumped for everyone to see it.
Yeah, and I can't echo that enough. I feel like we haven't asked for much. And if you guys have really enjoyed all the free stuff we've given you all year, we love doing it. We're going to keep doing it no matter what. So, but best way for you to support us, and it would mean the absolute world to us if you're able to, if you can afford it, if you feel like we deserve it, please go check out the draft guide we're putting out tomorrow. It looks gorgeous. It is. I'm honored to be part of it. Honestly, if I wasn't, I wouldn't say it. And then we got some awesome merch, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. If you're able to support us, please do so. Please go check all that out. NoCeilingsNBA.com, No Ceilings NBA on Twitter, No Ceilings TV on YouTube. Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and 5-star rating. Till next time, See ya.